Hello, everyone. My name is Barbara J. Barnes. Again, I am the president and founder of the Academy of Probate for Real Estate. Today, we are going to talk about how to wholesale property on the MLS, specifically probate. We're going to talk about being a fiduciary if you're a realtor. What your responsibility is when you're working with clients who want to, sell their property, and then also, if you want to wholesale those deals, we want to talk about whether it's legal, right? Can you legally wholesale an MLS property and more specifically a probate deal? And you absolutely can, but you just have to go about it in the right way. So, the first things first, we got to talk about ethics and we have to talk about our fiduciary duty as a real estate professional, as we are governed by the real estate commission. So, the first thing you want to do is make sure you have ethics. Make sure when you are listing, first and foremost, when you're listing property, it's all about what's best for the client. You have to put your personal interests aside. So if your client wants to put the property on the market, for retail top dollar, absolutely do that. All right. Because a lot of probate properties, a lot of times need work. And sometimes in needing work, we already know that there's a process that a potential buyer, right? A homeowner has to go through inspection processes, FHA and or conventional types of appraisals and things of such. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure you're putting that property on the market at value, at market value. You want to make sure you are putting your client's interest first and foremost, which is the top priority. For example, I had a listing that just sold a couple of months ago. We put the property on the market for the top of the market, right? We actually got a buyer for it, a retail buyer. But in the process, the client's property, it was vacant. She ended up having a leak in the house. So it destroyed the drywall. It destroyed so many elements of the house, and she was not able to pay for the repairs to be done. She went through her insurance and she had an ongoing battle with her insurance and they weren't paying. And the buyer essentially had to wait because the buyer had a down payment assistance program. And of course, when we go through when buyers go through down payment assistance programs, it has to, they have to get an inspection. The house has to be in a certain condition. So when I went into this deal, my goal was to sell it at the top of the market, right? But unfortunately, she ended up having a leak. And we ended up going through this long, gruesome process. It took me about a year. Okay. So the property needed work. I ended up selling it to a cash buyer and in the midst of a wholesale. I'll get into that story a little bit more deep. But the first thing that I did was to make sure that I put my client's interest first. Interest first. You have to be ethical when you're doing anything, of course, in real estate and especially in business, period. But you just have to make sure you're putting your client's interest first. When you meet with that client, just because their property may not be in the best shape, you show them all of the comparables in that area in different conditions, right? Let's just say a property had renovated similar to theirs. This is what the property would sell for renovated. This is what other properties sold for in your same neighborhood, not renovated. So you want to make sure you're giving your client all of the options that are out there. You don't want to really miss any information because you want to make sure that you're giving them all of the information that they need to make the best decision for them. So first thing that you want to do is make sure that you are a fiduciary to your client. When you have properties that need work, more specifically, you're going to have a lot of investors, with different offers and things of such. Some people in some states, right? So, like in the DC area, we are allowed to collect on both sides of the deal, meaning we can represent the buyer and we can also represent the seller. Now, in Maryland, I have a Maryland license. We can't do that, right? So, if you are in a dual representation state and you're getting a lot of different offers, right? You still have to make sure whatever offer that may benefit you, you make sure you let the seller know above board, right? You let them know like how it can benefit you, what you would get from it. You want to be fully transparent when you're working with your clients because they have trusted you to handle their real estate transaction. And you have to make sure that you are doing everything above board. The reason why I say this because wholesalers, in a sense, have a bad rap, right? They get a bad reputation for not being transparent, not letting the seller know all of the details. They get a bad rap for equity and things like that. So in order for you to be really successful for a very long time, because there is a such thing as short-term success and long-term success, you want to make sure you're being transparent. And a lot of times the sellers are okay as long as you're being transparent. So that's the first thing. You want to make sure you are a fiduciary to your client. You are working in their best interest. And you want to make sure your ethics are above board, that you're transparent and you're fully disclosing everything that's going on. Even if, let's just say, you brought a buyer to the table, you still have to disclose to your client that, you have a relationship with this person, right? It doesn't matter if it's a business relationship or a personal relationship. If it's a personal relationship, meaning like a family member, you're supposed to have a disclosure letting the seller know that, hey, it's a family member. But even if it's just someone you're not related to, that you have a relationship with, just let the seller know, like, hey, this person, we've done a lot of business together. If you've done business with them, I know them, we have a business relationship, and this is what they want to offer. They're good for whatever, right? You want to make sure that you're transparent because you don't want the seller to feel like you got over on them. Okay. And a lot of times, so number two, okay, the property is going to need work. The property, a lot of times, is going to need work. What do I mean by that? Need work meaning that there's a lot of deferred maintenance with these probate properties, just simply because the properties have been in the family for a very long time. So if a person has owned a property, just say for 30 or 40 years, they may have not upgraded the home. They may have not, made it modern and things like that. So you have to understand that these property needs a lot of work, right? So with that being said, if the property isn't as desirable, right, it may sit on the market for a longer period of time. And as property sits on the market for, a period of time or a longer period of time, we may have to start making some price adjustments. We may have to reduce the price. And when you start reducing the prices, depending on the market that you're in, it may be an opportunity for an investor to actually grab that property to actually, want to buy it, right? Because it's now at a lower price. So with that being said, when properties typically sit for a longer period of time, especially in probate, you have the PR who's responsible for all of these bills, all of these obligations to the decedent. And then you may have other family members, other influences who may need, whatever their interest is in the estate. So sometimes there is a pressure on the PR or on the family to get the property moved, right? Because typically in an estate, of course, the real estate is typically the largest asset, right? That we may know of. I'm not saying that the decedent doesn't have larger assets like businesses and or stocks or bonds or anything like that, but people typically look at real estate as the largest asset. So they're going to benefit a lot from that asset, right? So as the property sits for a longer period of time, there is more pressure because there's still bills that needs to be paid. Other people want to get their money, their interest and things like that. So the longer the property sits, the more willing the seller is to negotiate a little bit, right? You just want to give a little bit. But as a realtor, I always tell the seller, don't reduce the price so low that you're not going to make a profit and that it's not going to benefit the estate. The PR's responsibility is to make sure that they're working in the best interest of the estate, meaning that they're garnering all of the capital, they're garnering all of the money, all of the proceeds, right? In the best interest of the estate. They have to make sure they can get the most because they have other people who are involved. So they have a responsibility as well. So you may hear my dog barking. So with that being said, the property may sit a little bit longer and you may have to have some tough conversations Okay. And that's really what happens a lot of time with these estates. So let's just say, like in my example, you do get a end buyer being a homeowner who actually wants to purchase the property, right? They may want to purchase it. We all have good intentions, but then here comes, home inspection time, or here comes appraisal time. So a lot of times when the home inspection comes up, the properties are typically sold as is. We'll market it as is. But if we market it as is and then an appraisal come in there, just say for FHA, a VA, or conventional type product, right? Those are the most common products. Um, if it appraises and it has health and safety issues, then the bank will not finance that buyer, right? That's just the reality. The bank won't finance that buyer. And then especially if it's a FHA, that appraisal will sit on that particular property for 6 months. So that's a whole nother 6 month process that the seller may have to, either if they decide to back out of that contract, they're going to have to wait another 6 months to get a reappraisal, right? But I've seen situations where you can get an appraisal even less than 6 months, but those are like rare. I don't see that a lot. So if you get the property on the market and you get an end buyer at retail dollar, and let's just say the appraisal finds something that's health and safety, right? And the seller can rectify the issue, right, with their funds, but a lot of times they don't have the funds to rectify the issue. That's the reason why they put it on the market, because they need the money, because they don't have it, maybe because they've been paying, the estate bills for so long. So with that being said, it then puts the seller in a position where they may have to accept a cash buyer or someone who's not doing a traditional type of financing, because they have to worry about getting through that appraisal process. And as we already know, you can schedule your appraisal, but typically it takes about 14 days for the actual appraisal to come back for a traditional end buyer. Okay. So with that being said, we're now taking the property off the market expecting a great result, and then we just wasted time. So you have to explain that to your seller as well before going in, so they can have the expectation of what may or may not happen. But when that does happen, the sellers are now in a position where they took the time to put the property on the market. The property, we now have this challenge, right? And sometimes the sellers can't overcome the challenge, and this is where you could come in as an investor friendly real estate agent and then propose a solution. This is how you set up the wholesale. Okay. So let's just say you have a buyer, or you've had people reach out to you who were interested in the property. And they're willing to buy the property as is. They're willing to buy the property with all of the imperfections. And they're also willing to give you a bonus. This is where you can get a wholesale fee. You don't get a wholesale fee, you get a bonus. Okay. The bonus is the buyer appreciates the fact that you're going with them, because again, the buyer is an investor, and the investor is going to make a profit, right? So they already have their numbers built in. So if they're willing to give you a bonus, you just have to let the seller know, like, hey, this buyer is a really great buyer. They really, really, really want to earn, your business. They really want to work with me. And they're willing to give me a bonus if we decide to work with them. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you have been doing a lot of the efforts, a lot of the work, and they see the value in you. So all you have to do is just let your seller know, like, hey, I'm going to get, if you end up getting both sides of the deal, this is three sides now. If you get the listing and the buyer commission, right? Some sellers are not always concerned about the money. They're concerned about the peace of mind that you're bringing them, and the fact that you're making their life easy. They don't have to work. They don't have to put the property in the market themselves for sale by owner. You are a valuable asset. So you let the seller know, like, this is the deal. You let them know that, hey, the buyer is willing to give me, a bonus for, being a good steward, right, or whatever your reasoning is, right? Every buyer has different reasons why they want to give you a bonus, but the fact that you're getting a bonus for doing a good job is only shows your value, right? It's a benefit to you because of who you are and how you work for the parties. So you could tell the buyer, like, hey, if you're serious, if the buyer, let's just say the buyer is a cash buyer, hey, you could give me a bonus, but my sellers need this, or my sellers need that. We need to close in just say 10 days or 7 days or whatever the situation is. And if we can get this deal done and the seller is okay with me getting a bonus, let's do it. But all you have to do is be ethical and be above board and just get permission, right? Because the seller doesn't want to look at you like, oh, you're getting money for choosing this person. Like, we don't work like that. We'll let the seller know, like, hey, this is what the person is willing to do. This is how they're willing to compensate me. It's not going to cost the seller anything. It's not coming out of their pocket. It's not coming out of their proceeds. It has nothing to do with the seller. It has everything to do with the value that you're giving to the buyer into the transaction. And that's how you get your wholesale fee. That's how you wholesale properties on the MLS. A an immediate thing? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it takes time, especially if you're a listing agent. Even if you're a buyer's agent, let's just say you find a property on the MLS. Let's just say you have a cash buyer who wants to buy it, right? You're the buyer's agent. And let's just say for you doing all this legwork to find a good deal, your cash buyer is willing to give you a bonus. You can still wholesale that way. I think people look at this word wholesale as this, like I said, as a negative thing, and it's really not. Because because technically wholesale is like acquisitions. You have to find opportunities. So a person appreciates the fact that you found them an opportunity. That's the reason why they are giving you a bonus. Because some of these investors who are highly successful, they don't have the time to go hunt, to go find deals, to do all this legwork. That's what they're, essentially hiring you for. So if you make their life easy, a lot of times they're willing to compensate you for your value. It has nothing to do with you're not being honest or you're being, unethical. No, it has everything to do with the value that you're bringing to your client. So if your clients deem that as valuable, then great, you should get paid for it. And I'm an advocate for that. Now, let's just say that your seller is not okay with you getting a bonus, then they're not okay with that. But you still have now gained a relationship with a cash buyer, and maybe you guys can work something out on the next deal, or maybe you can help them find another investment opportunity and you can get paid that way. But there are so many ways that you can get paid in real estate. You can't be closed-minded. You have to be above board. You have to be very ethical. You have to be very transparent, and you can make a lot of money in this business. Trust me, I've made a lot of sides of deals, and just being transparent about how I operate, how I work, what the expectation is, how it's going to go. Ultimately, I don't make the decision, the client does. My job is to give the client all of the information to make the best decision. But really quick, guys, you can go and get my free course on how to win the probate listing every single time. It is right here. The link is in the description. Click on the link to get that free course. But I'm telling you guys, because I love probate, I've been highly successful in this area. I'm going to have more people on, and we're going to talk about this niche. We're going to talk about how this can be an addition to your business that you may already have, right? Especially if maybe you're an investor-friendly real estate agent, or if you're a realtor and you're trying to get into the investing space, right? This is a great niche for you to build your portfolio of either flips, buy and holds, or whatever it is that you want to do, even wholesale, right? I'm not saying that you're going to wholesale every single opportunity that you have, but you have to know how to look at the opportunity to see if you have an actual wholesale deal. So I have my course, Certified Probate Real Estate Expert, CPRE course, guys. It is a great course. I show you how to find the information to get the personal representative information. I show you how to identify a deal, an MLS listing that could be a potential wholesale, or an MLS listing that you have as an opportunity that you can actually make that a potential wholesale deal, right? Or really a bonus deal, if you will. And how to structure your addendums. I teach you how to structure your addendums and the language and the paperwork that you actually need to be above board. And sometimes you may need, help on how to actually, talk to the seller, and, because maybe you're not comfortable with telling them that you're going to get a bonus, or someone is willing to give you a bonus. That's where I come in. You have to have that confidence. You have to be able to let them know, like, this is my value. So we help you with that. And also we show you how to vet your cash buyers. I have a cash buyers list, but I don't have a ton of cash buyers who actually buy my deals. I can count on two hands how many cash buyers I have, literally. And I work with people who are very credible, people who I can trust, and people who actually get the deal done. So I hope this was very, very helpful to you guys. Again, my name is Barbara J. Barnes. I want you to subscribe to the Academy of Probate for Real Estate to get some more probate real estate content. I want you guys to follow me on Instagram at Academy of Probate for Real Estate and get your CPRE course, guys. It is a certified, we have a certification trademark as a CPRE, a certified probate real estate expert. Guys, get this information. It absolutely will change your life and it will change your business. See you in the next video.